Creating a well-developed character within a story may seem simple, as they often appear authentic and relatable on screen. However, behind that realism lies a carefully crafted foundation that many writers use to guide their decisions about the character. When executed successfully, this results in a rich, simulated experience of connection and understanding between the viewer and the fictional character the writer has created. This can be a complex task to achieve with no single solution. It requires practice to develop and refine one's approach. However, there is a solid framework you can use as a starting point to help you build that crucial foundation for a character's motivations, background, and personality, enabling them to drive the story forward through their actions and decisions. While there are many names for this pre-writing technique, I like to call it the character engine, as it serves as the foundation and driving force behind the character's development. There are a million different ways you can build a character, so as a writer, it's important to experiment with different techniques that you can integrate into your workflow. But hopefully, this one helps you as much as it's helped me. Okay, let's get into it. Characters are often viewed as imaginary people that readers can relate to. While this is technically true and what you want your viewers to see, it's crucial to understand that deep down, this is a well-crafted illusion. Characters aren't just simulations of people, they're much more than that. At their foundation, they serve as vehicles that allegorically convey aspects of the story's central message. In fact, all elements of the story, from the setting to the plot points, should revolve around the central message in some way. If you want to learn more about how to incorporate a central message into your story, check out our previous video that covers the topic in depth. Now let's get into the nuts and bolts of a character engine. To understand how to build one, we have to examine its parts and how they dynamically relate to each other. There are 5 parts to a character engine: the physical weakness, moral weakness, the lie they tell themselves, desire, and need. When I write a character, I like to give them some kind of physical weakness, not because it makes them interesting or thrilling, but because it serves as a way to express their moral weakness. That's ultimately what the relationship is between a character's physical and moral weakness. A physical weakness in a character is what writers use to reveal deeper motivations behind their actions, which again tie back to the central message. Typically, this weakness hurts the main character and others, but it doesn't have to. It just needs to be something that holds them back from living a more fulfilling life. Perhaps the simplest example is a drug addict. A drug addict's physical weakness is their addiction to a drug, and that, of course, hurts them in many ways, from health issues to screwing over loved ones just to get their fix. But what is the root cause of their drug addiction? Is it depression, anxiety, or boredom? These may be contributing factors, but they are still physical weaknesses. To truly understand the character's drug addiction, one must also examine their moral weakness. Moral weakness is the character's belief or outlook on life at the start of the story, which manifest as physical weaknesses. For example, an addiction to drugs could stem from the belief that shortcuts to success are more effective than hard work. This mindset can lead to gaining instant gratification through reckless behavior, such as drugs or committing illegal and dangerous acts for a large payout, which makes for an intriguing character in a crime thriller. So this relationship between a character's physical and moral weakness and how they align or conflict with other characters provides a framework to help us define the choices they make throughout the story and how they change or fail to change. To maintain control over when a character recognizes and addresses their moral weakness or flawed perspective, it's important to come up with a lie that they tell themselves by using a rationalization that allows them to avoid self-reflection. This enables the revelation of their moral weakness to be timed strategically, such as at the climax of the story. Consider the drug addict example again. Let's say he has a family that he lost. In an effort to regain their trust and support, he secretly turns to drug dealing so he can earn money and use it to demonstrate his newfound responsibility to his family. To justify his actions, the drug-addicted character could deceive himself into believing that he is only selling drugs for the sake of his family. However, in truth, he is driven by his belief that shortcuts and instant gratification lead to success. If it were truly about his family, he would have sought out an honest job and worked hard. So by providing the character with a flawed justification for their actions, the writer can create a sense of self-delusion, allowing for greater control over the character's development and eventual realization of their true moral weakness if they ever come to realize it. A character's desire or goal is what they strive to achieve throughout the story. This can be something tangible like winning a competition or defeating a corrupt leader, or it can be a more abstract pursuit like rediscovering a passion or coping with grief. Regardless of the specific desire, it should be closely connected to the story's central message. That's a constant in writing. A character's desire serves as a driving force for the plot. Without a desire, the story lacks direction and purpose. A character's physical and moral weakness, along with the rationalization they use to avoid self-reflection, provides a foundation for their actions. But it is their desire that defines where those actions lead them. So, understanding a character's desire is crucial for helping you get from the beginning to the end of your plot. The famous writer David Mamet actually goes so far as to describe the plot as one giant desire line, because after you establish who your character is, their weakness, setting, setup, and inciting incident, you reveal a goal for them to achieve, which essentially puts them on a desire line or a course that they must journey through in order to achieve the goal. The last component that I develop for my characters is their need. This refers to what a character needs to understand in order to see the error of their initial outlook on life at the beginning of the story and thus change or fail to change. This need is often shaped by the synthesis between the main character's initial belief about the world and the antagonist's belief throughout the story. Going back to the drug addict/dealer scenario, we have a character whose physical weakness is his addiction, while his moral weakness is the belief that cutting corners leads to success. He justifies his actions by convincing himself that he is doing all of these bad things to support his family. So let's say the drug addict is presented with an opportunity that could bring him wealth or land him in prison. This opportunity, whether it be a large drug deal or a bank heist, represents his desire and sets him on a plot towards a conclusion. Along this journey, an antagonist is introduced to hinder his progress. Throughout a series of victories and defeats, the losses become increasingly severe, leading up to a climax. It is at this point, before or during the climax, that the character ultimately confronts the lies they've been telling themselves. In this scenario, the character might accept that he's been lying to himself about committing these crimes for his family. This acknowledgement would then expose him to his moral weakness, which is the belief that taking shortcuts is the key to success. Now, if you craft the antagonistic forces to represent the opposing viewpoint of the main character's beliefs, then you can get your character to learn that the best way to live is through a synthesis of their initial beliefs and the beliefs held by the antagonist. This balanced outlook between the main character's moral weakness and the antagonist's moral weakness is what the character ultimately needs to understand in order to grow. So, if our main character, the drug addict, believes that cutting corners is the best way to live, then the antagonist could be a play-by-the-rules cop who believes that prudence and hard, honest work is the best way to live. The story could show the drug dealer living a lavish lifestyle, while the cop leads a mundane life. However, since the drug dealer engages in illegal activities, he's eventually sent to prison, while the cop continues a boring life. Through this narrative structure, the main character could learn that neither cutting corners nor a safe and boring life are the best ways to live. Instead, it could be a balance between safety and taking intelligent risks for a more enjoyable life. That could be the character's need in this hypothetical story. That's the basic breakdown of a character engine. If there's one lesson you should take away from the character engine as a foundation for development, it's this: There are no rules, and you can build your characters in any way you want. But if you want people to fall in love with them, they have to mean something to your audience. This guide I gave is not a perfect approach, and alone, it can't help you make a great character. What it is, though, is a solid starting point. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you're interested in building your own character engines, check out our interactive character builder on StoryPrism and see how these character elements dynamically relate to each other using your own ideas. Until next time, best of luck in your writing endeavors.